Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and Merry Christmas to all of those who celebrate it. Anyways, today I am making a new updated guide on EOT Hardcore and how to do it, and this is of course a team-based raid. It is the hardest raid to farm in the game and you're not going to be farming it casually solo. So I'm going to be going over the team loadout you should use, the best possible runes to use in this raid, and also what gear to use with them and what move loadouts and the basic strategy. So we do have a lot to get into, so I will be going a little fast. So first we're going to cover the DPS. So for DPS, you're going to want 6 or 7 of your player slots of 12 to be DPS, because obviously you need the most DPS to make quick work of the boss. Anyways, basically what you want to use for DPS is any sword in the game. It doesn't matter, I'm using Art Brush for fun, you can use Infinity, Peppermint, anything. If you're using the Soul Rune for DPS, it doesn't matter what your weapon is because it only matters how much health you have. So the released energy of space and then the binded energy of time are going to be your best health ring and necklace for this, and then the forceful raiment is going to be your best HP armor for this. And then your aura, preferably if you can, you want the haunted cape or any Halloween cape, but the aura of Aurora is a good alternative if you didn't farm the Halloween capes back in the Halloween event. So anyways, basically what your strategy will be with the Soul Rune is to use Flurry, Calamity, and Mending Sword. So your 6 or 7 DPS players are going to be constantly spamming that Flurry and doing their best to shred the boss. You can really do a lot of DPS with this rune, and honestly it is by far the best DPS rune in team play. As you can see in the background, with both the party runes and protectors keeping us alive, you always have max health. That is why we are also using Mending. The higher the health you have while using Soul Rune, the more damage you will do. That is why I said it doesn't matter which weapon you use, because it only does damage based off of your maximum health. That is also why a max level pet is very important for a DPS player if you're farming EOT Hardcore. You don't need a max level pet to do this, of course, but I would say within your team or group, if you have players with max level pets or higher level pets, make sure they are DPS instead of support, because DPS benefits from a max level pet so much more than your support players will. Anyways, before I go too much further in the video, I'm going to go over the rest of the slots, how many players you want and anything. So 6 or 7 DPS, like I mentioned, you're going to want 2 eggs or protectors. Depends on what your team's using. Both of those work, of course. You're going to want 1 silencer. This is mandatory. You need 1 silencer. And then you want 2 party runes to keep your team alive. So the silencer role is very easy. Just use your best health gear. You're going to want to be using Infinity or your highest damage sword, because obviously without Soul Rune you do need actual damage. I would recommend using the Cape of Pressure or the Cloak of Anti-Gravity if you're going to be silencers, so you get a lot of health while still getting a good amount of speed and okay damage. And then the skill loadout you're going to be using is of course Lure Jab. I mean, you need it. Then you're also going to be using Calamity Shout and Mending Sword. I have seen some people do Blessing and Mending Sword, but in my opinion, having 1 extra Calamity Shout would be a little bit better. You can even use Safeguard on yourself, but the fact you have Protector and Egg runes within the party, I don't think you really need it. So the silencer's role is incredibly important. A silencer basically makes a difference between doing a ton of damage and a lot of damage. It is such an important ability. So the Lure Jab makes it to where the boss takes a lot more damage from all your DPS for a couple of seconds, and it is crucial. A silencer rune makes your run go so much faster. You definitely don't want them to die, but if they do die, you can still finish. Of course, it'll just be slower. And for silencer, I wouldn't say a max level pet is necessarily needed. Does it help? Of course, but if you don't have it, it is alright. So let's say you have a player with a level 42 pet, it might be a good idea to put them on the silencer rune just in case, because you know you don't need a high level pet for all that DPS while a silencer. Next, we're going to talk about Egg/Protector. This is a very difficult role to do, so you definitely want players who know what they're doing in this role. So again, just use your best health gear, maybe even use Cape of Pressure for a little bit of speed and HP. Really just use whatever works for you, and then just your highest health ring and necklace. And then the abilities you're going to want to use is Cloak of Light, Safeguard, and either Calamity or Mending Sword. So essentially what you're going to have to do with Egg or Protector is constantly cycle out your safeguard ability. So you have to communicate with the other player that is also the egg or protector so you guys know when to switch off. Essentially, this is what keeps the team alive. So when one egg safeguards, when there is either 3 or 2 seconds left on the overall safeguard on your allies remaining, that is when the second egg player will use their safeguard. And then this cycle repeats until the end of the raid. This is a very important cycle. Your egg or protector player must focus on this the entire raid. I cannot tell you how many times people get wiped because their egg or protector isn't paying attention and the cycle is broken and then they just die. This is a crucial role to the team. These players must be skilled. If they're bad, then your team's gonna suffer. So do make sure they know what they're doing. And I'm not trying to make this role sound intimidating because it is a very important role. And plus it is easy to get the runes for this role. So if you're struggling to get a soul rune, I would recommend one of the support roles. It is much easier to get those, but you need to know what you're doing. And once you do it a few times, it isn't that difficult. You get used to it and the cycle becomes like second nature to you. So just focus on your timers, make sure you switch out safeguard when there's 3 or 2 seconds left, and just make sure you're communicating with your other egg or protector. Now the final 2 slots are going to be your 2 rune of the partying. Now the rune of the partying is much better than life rune for this. You just do so much healing and everything. Of course you're going to be using Cloak of Light, Mending Sword, and then you're also going to be using Menacing Shout. So essentially what you're gonna do with the party is keep your team alive. Much like the egg or protector rune, you're gonna be cycling out your Mending Sword or the Disco Dance Floor with your second party rune ally. So when you see the party floor from the first party rune go away, that is when the second party rune will use their Mending Sword, so you constantly have the floor down. This is gonna make your team heal for a lot. It is very, very important for the soul rune strategy, and overall has made EOT a lot easier. You don't need to focus too hard on Cloak of Light and the Menacing Shout for cycling as much as you do the dance floor. Really just use them when you can. If you want to be super try hard, you can cycle them, but I wouldn't worry that much. The Menacing Shout, of course, is like a mini lure jab that will stack with the Silencer rune, and then the Cloak of Light makes it to where your team can dodge. And then for your gear loadout for this, you're just gonna want to use your best health gear again with okay speed so you don't die or walk too slow. Really the only type of gear that is a little different is your DPS, because you know you gotta be using only the maximum health stuff, including the raiment, which removes speed. But overall, I would say the rune of the party isn't too hard. Just make sure you cycle those dance floors with the 2 party runes and you should be good. Overall, that is the main strategies for this raid. It isn't too difficult of a raid, I would say, once you get used to it. If you haven't done it much, then it really can be difficult, but that is the general gist of the strategies. Anyways, thanks very much for watching, guys. Comment down below if you enjoyed, leave a like if you enjoyed as well, subscribe for more, and I hope you have a great rest of your Christmas. Bye!